Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing.
Oh, it's good. Good morning, everybody. I'm still getting used to the live, even though we've done them a couple times. So thank you very much to everybody for joining me live today. If you're on the call or if you're watching this later, thank you for taking the time. We are proud to host our first Ask Me Anything, as we've been fielding way more questions than we anticipated. We've had over 125 questions come in live on the website, additional ones come in through other social media sites. And so what we've done today, is we've done our best to kind of group them into 4 different sections, and we're going to answer them kind of grouped up. Our marketing team will work hard to get them all into our FAQ section. So if we've missed a question or we tried our best to kind of cover everything, and you'll see as we go through, we're addressing the hard ones. We took ones that had multiple people asking the same thing. We really are going to try to address that. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to talk a little bit just for anybody that's new to the story, anybody that's kind of coming in early to the story, just a reminder that Exro is a power controls company. We have developed a new level of control, a next generation platform of control that enables better capabilities of motors and batteries. As you think about our patented technology, our main focus is really that ability to do more on less. So imagine a passenger vehicle car that can go farther, an electric truck that can pick up an extra root of garbage, or pull up a hill without draining the battery. These are all the impactful difference that we're making to the e-mobility segment. Of course, today is an exciting day for us as we've announced our new press release on our first pilot for our energy storage unit. This is our first external energy storage unit and will be backed by future pilots as we've kind of hit that next stage of commercialization for the cell driver. But we're also lifting our partner Giafoni out of NDA. And again, beyond the excitement that we have for working with a great partner like Giafoni and really learning about utilizing the vehicles in South America versus in North America, we are excited about the end partner on that being one of the largest beverage companies in the world. And also it demonstrates what we've long been saying about as we work with our NDA partners, we get them out, we continue to work with them, we respect the privacy of our customers while trying to balance that with the expectation of our shareholders. So as we jump in today, again, thank you very much to each and every shareholder for the support that you've given us over the years and the support that we hope you continue to give us as we move forward. I'm going to jump right in. It's going to be a full packed hour as we get through every question. At the end of it, we'll open up for some live questions. We know that probably another 20 or 30 questions have come in the last 20 minutes as we went to go live. Daryl's here in the room with me, and he'll be kind of fielding through and throwing me questions at the end. And so we'll go true live at the end where I haven't seen those questions in advance. I'm going to jump right in now. So the first question, can you provide an assessment of the slowdown in the EV space? So as we look to the EV space right now, of course, it's all over media, and we see both sides. The couple of things I would say is, of course, we're going to be impacted. We can't say that we're participating in a segment that is known to have some bumps and bruises this year in transition time and then say we're not going to be affected. But I think we've done a really good job of balancing what we want to be in the future and picking partners that, although it's frustrating for all of you that we're slower to the big revenue that we all want to see, they're partners that really build that business for us over the years. So we haven't seen that direct impact on those partners. Where we've seen it is especially here in North America, where the transition has been a little bit slower and there's a lot of emerging growth companies that we're targeting thousands of units and are in the hundreds of units. Those types of places, of course, we've seen the impact. As we think about that, so where is the best key market for Coil Driver? And if you're just joining the live stream, I promise you we're going to hit the financials, we're going to hit the management, we're going to hit all those questions that came in. So, first we're just targeting these general questions. So that key target market. When you think about the key target market, every electric vehicle has an inverter inside. Some of them have multiple. The bigger the vehicle, the more inverters you're going to see. The easiest way for you to think about the best target market for Exro's Coil Driver is what's called traction inverter. Everything on land with wheels. Yes, we can do boats, and yes, we can do air, and yes, we can do industrial, but where we get that best combination of cost, performance, and value proposition is on everything on land with wheels. And as you can see, because there was also a lot of questions about passenger vehicle versus commercial truck versus light industrial. So we are fully scalable. We've proven that ability to scale. And now it's about picking the customers that make us the best path to profitability as we scale. And so don't think that passenger vehicle is the be-all, end-all. Of course, it's part of our journey. Yes, we're already engaged with an NDA that does that, and nothing has changed on that. That's 16% of our target market. As you look to commercial trucking and light duty, heavy duty, medium duty commercial trucking, that's more than 50% of the market. And the reason for that right now is that a commercial truck conversion is not just a personal choice, what you want to drive, how you can afford to drive that. It's all about the return on investment, and that ability to reduce the impact on the bill of material is key. And we'll talk about that later in the presentation. The same idea is, can the Exro Coil Driver, what happens in the hybrid space? Again, we're agnostic to motor type. What that means is permanent magnet to induction, rare earth to magnet motors. We can play with all of them. If there's a motor that needs to be controlled, it needs an inverter, it needs a coil driver. The propulsion type is also agnostic as long as it's an electric propulsion, meaning that it can be hydrogen fuel cell, it can be full battery, or it can be hybrid. All three of those utilize an inverter. So all of those are areas for us, and you'll see us continuing to develop and break into applications that show that as well. What about the cell driver? What's the market for the cell driver? I'm not going to go into the whole tutorial. There'll be a lot of videos that we release through the end of the year and into the beginning of the next year that helps to understand the markets that we play in, how the technology plays in those markets, and just a better description, a non-technical description of how we participate. For now, I'm just going to say in the energy storage market, it's called front of the meter and behind the meter. Front of the meter is like your utility scale. So you're working with your local utility to have a large energy storage unit. This is like where a Tesla Powerwall would come in, or a GE energy storage, or a Siemens energy storage, versus what's called behind the meter, which is like commercial, industrial, or residential. Well, we can participate, the technology can participate in any of these sectors. We are focusing right now on the commercial industrial unit. So when you see people that are out doing pilots first and not UL, most of that is utility scale. Not all of it, but most of it is. What is the commercial industrial target market? Right here, you see the commercial industrial by 2030 is a $14 billion market. So just our first target market is a $14 billion market. And then if you look at the scaling, if we go up or down, residential or utility, you're talking about an over $130 billion market that the cell driver could participate. Again, don't lose focus of the fact that the cell driver patents, the granted patents, are around the control of the battery, meaning that we can license into other energy storage units, we can license into different applications, and that the cell driver battery energy storage is just one product that realizes the value of the technology. I'm going to jump in now to more of, kind of the market conditions. And we saw a lot of questions around the frustration of the market conditions. We got a lot of compliments. We got a lot of great emails directly to ourselves on, how pleased people are that we're so transparent, but we didn't want to ignore the questions. We saw a lot of people saying, please don't ignore my question. So, it says, I think 98% of shareholders, you once said you have happy employees working at Exro. When will shareholders have a reason to be happy? I would say that I too am frustrated with the market right now. I too am frustrated with different pieces of how we continue to build and just get that pressure of the market that takes us back down. I can't give you an answer to when that is going to occur, because unlike the walls of Exro, where I can control 100% of what happens to our employees, I can't control the external markets. Of course, we need to improve. We're going to continue to improve our messaging. We're going to continue to market and get our story out as much as we possibly can. But it's hard for me to answer questions like this. So I'm just going to say that I'm working hard to have a happy shareholder base, and I'm focused on making sure the employees are happy, because it's proven that happy employees are productive employees. And our employees are working hard every single night to deliver value for our shareholders. As we look to that market backdrop, I won't focus on this. This deck will be posted to our website as part of this live stream. So please don't feel like you need to screenshot or take any of the information. We're being fully transparent. It will be up there for everybody to take and download as they see fit. What this is showing you is the sector that we participate in. That's what it means to be a publicly traded company. It means that we're participating in a public exchange, that we're participating in a peer group, in a sector group. And so while we are all frustrated, employees and management of Exro, our board of directors, our shareholders, in how the market has performed over the last year, make no mistake that Exro has outperformed the sector that we behave in. And I think that that's because we've tried our best to be transparent. We've met 80% of the milestones that we set this year, and we've mitigated against things that were beyond our control. It hasn't been perfect execution. And when it is perfect execution, we'll just outperform even more. As we think about guidance and numbers and how we do that, if we know our manufacturing volume and we know our profit margins, why aren't we going to give forward-looking estimates? So as we think about that, I would encourage our shareholders to look to the analyst coverage that we had. These are analysts that have done an enormous amount of due diligence with our company, with our partners, inside the walls of Exro and outside the walls of Exro. These are analysts with years of experience that have dug in. And so I'm going to encourage you all to lean to those reports for now. And we'll make a commitment that as we go into 24 with our new board of directors, we have decided that we will do earnings calls starting in 2024. And so we're going to sum up all the financial questions now. I'm going to take it into two parts. The first one's, when do we make money? How do we be rich? And kind of on the bottom end, there's been some rumors and talking around Trainer Ridge and how that affected the stock. Those are things that I would only be speculating on. And I cannot do that as a public market CEO. So when we make money, how we be rich, Trainer Ridge, those things, I'm going to encourage you to just go do your own research and to find out. What I can confirm for you is that we want the same things. We're looking for the same things. And with the Trainer Ridge, I can confirm that we've leaned on our capital market advisors. We do know that they were a shareholder in us and, not a material one, but, I'm just going to say that's all I can really say on that topic. On our path to profitability, I think that's one of the things that really sets us aside as Exro. It's been really tough. If any of you remember on our start of production live stream, we talked about the fact that in our drives, we have over 1,000 components. That means that there's multiple supply chain that we're working with. You have economies of scale that play in and different pieces. I can tell you that you don't move to a definitive agreement with a partner like Linamar if they haven't done due diligence on your bill of material. That's not how the automotive world works. And so we've done a lot of due diligence against our bill of material and our path to profitability, and we still feel confident in our ability to get there in the kind of mid-2025. It's a little later than we thought when we first came out to commercialization. Some of that was outside of our control as the slowdown in the industry, as we talked about at the beginning, it means that some of the parts have went up. And so we've had to balance that. Some of the components, like a chip, is really difficult for us to change. So in order for us to change a chip, we'd have to go back to a lot of testing, which would be counterproductive because we'd be spending more money for that design. So we have a pretty good roadmap to that path of profitability. We're feeling really strong in where we are today, and we've had it validated by different customers as we've talked with them. So I think we're in a much stronger position to know every single part than we were, over a year ago. As far as cash burn and future financings, again, I'm going to talk to only what's public and say that we've released our financials about a couple weeks ago now, and we had just under 20 million in our account at the time. We continue to try to be as lean and as mean as we can as we look to the industry around us and those kind of slowdowns. And while you saw a little bit of an increase in the third quarter, that really came from completing some of our internal SMT line, as we look to that path to profitability. So while we use contract manufacturing for the final assembly, some of that build is done in-house to make sure that we have that path to profitability. So we continued that investment, and that increased our spend through the third quarter. As far as our financings are concerned, again, you can kind of see the burn. You can kind of think about where we need to do. What we're doing now together with our board is really thinking about the most strategic moves that we can make for the company. And now that we're starting to see a little bit of revenue and we've started that production, we have a lot of options for what we can do to finance the company moving forward. So we're going to continue through that. We're in strategic planning right now, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we do the best type of financing that we can. Right now, it's not something keeping me up at night. Of course, just like all of you, it's something that I'm watching and I'm seeing. But I'm not concerned about not being able to keep the company doors open and the lights on and keeping us going so that we can make it to that profitability stage and so that we continue to build ourselves in the market and take share. All right, who's who here at Exro? We got lots of questions around, how many employees, how we do our postings. And so we have over 125 employees at Exro right now. We haven't done any substantial hires over the last 6 months, partly to watch our burn, but also because we put a lot of effort into our hires early on. We keep our postings up all the time to make sure that when good talent is out there, we're opening the door and seeing if there's a role. I'm going to take it now to the Mesa facility, where this one interested me because, we've had press releases in the past. We've talked about what we've done here in Mesa. And I guess it's a good example of where for us, it's just normal course of business. But for shareholders, you're not here behind the doors, so it can become a question. So as you looked, what was the purpose of the organization? What's going on here in Mesa? It was, a money drain or simply to have an office. All of that is false. We had a lot of research that we did before we decided to come into the US. Part of it was preparation for things like the Buy America Act and having a space here. Part of it was establishing ourselves for grants and loans here in the US. Part of it was for talent that we see here in the US. But also a big part of it was to be close to customers. So this is the dyno bay here. We're still building out some of the safety profiles around it, but this is a working dyno. In fact, our NDA 2 is being tested right now on that dyno. The Wolong motors are coming up from Calgary this week to be tested here. Our latest software patent that we filed was actually initiated here in Mesa. So there's a lot of research and development that's complementing our headquarters in Calgary right now, happening here in Arizona. We have a full team here of engineering, all the disciplines from mechanical to software. We're building up to be able to build the lids for the energy storage units, our cell driver here in Mesa. So there is a lot going on behind the walls here at Mesa. If you're in the US and you want to come out and visit us, just like in Calgary, please reach out. We'll be happy to host you with an appointment. Please don't show up unannounced. All right, evolving as a company. So as we grow as a company, we know that you're all anxious to know who are the key people that are behaving and part of our Exro group. Our CFO, there's been a lot of rumors around him being a part-time CFO. It's absolutely not true. He was doing some consultant work before he joined, advisory work more than consultant work, working on different boards. It does not impact his ability to be a full-time CFO. He sits here in Arizona right beside me. I can confirm that he's here often longer hours than I'm here as I'm traveling out. The company that was kind of called out on social is not a company that he's advising for anymore, but he had come to the end of that contract. Posting roles, like I just talked about, we have roles posted on our website all the time. Part of that is to backfill in case there's life changes for employees that have left the company or new projects that we know are on the horizon, and we want to make sure that we have a perfect software person, and that takes a long time to hire. So we keep those roles posted, but we're pretty lean and mean with how we hire and when we hire. There was a role posted for a VP of engineering, which everybody questioned and said, did we stop that? It's not on the website anymore. It's not on the website because we've hired a great new VP of Eng who comes from us with over 20 years of automotive experience. So we welcome Brad to our team. He'll be based out of Calgary. He's been on board for just a couple of weeks now. Took us over a year to find a person that we thought was a great fit culturally, experience-wise, and could take that kind of startup through manufacturing stage with us. Some questions about hiring a professional PR firm. We've done that actually in the past. Shareholders couldn't tell the difference between when we had one and when we didn't have one, and we had spent a lot of money to do that. So we're rethinking how we do that. We're rethinking what we do with that. You've seen changes to our IR team with Jake and Vic, and we just appreciate so much all the dedication that they had for our company and continue to support us from the sidelines. But as we evolve, we're looking at how we evolve that and our messaging as well. I thank all the shareholders that have shared ideas on how we can get better at that. And I promise you, I've put that all together. I'm working with our board through the end of this year on our messaging and how we want to look into 2024 in the future. And we also had some changes on our sales team, which those that follow on social have seen. Again, it was an evolution of the company. It was something that we had talked about and agreed about and thought about where we are in the next stage. And we're really happy to already have our new EVP of sales on board. Debbie joins us after 5 years with Nidec, one of the largest traction motor inverter companies for e-mobility in the world. And so we're super excited. She just joined us in the last week. And so we continue to attract the best of the best here at Exro. So now I'm going to flip to projects, our go-to-market strategy. I'm going to split it into Coil Driver and then Cell Driver, and then I'm going to come back and do the synergy of both. So on here, again, this will be on our website, so I won't go and kind of slide read for you. But what I wanted to talk to is the strategy for our go-to-market has been in place for over the past 3 years. And while we've experienced a number of delays, some of that just comes from trying to take something disruptive to market. We're not just replacing something with exactly what's there. There's a lot of work that's went into getting our technology approved in the marketplace. But the basis of the strategy has always been the same. We've called it a wave go-to-market strategy. And so really that commercial trucking, that standardized high voltage, what we see in the vicinity, our HB4, our C Electric. Today we announced our Giafoni partner. That's the same high voltage drive that's being used in 2 different variations for voltages. Then we wanted to break into larger customers, larger modal partners like TSA, Wolong, our NDA 1 and our NDA 2. The reason for that is because these motor partners can pull us into companies like Volvo, companies like Mercedes, companies like Geely, as they have partnerships and contracts for their motor side. So if we get through that durability, we don't need to hire up a sales team to support that. We don't need to do a lot of cash burn to support these. It takes a little longer in the short term because we're working through it, but when we come out on the other side, it's a lot bigger of a picture for us. And then kind of that next wave goes into those longer NDAs. Passenger vehicle, I saw a lot of comments around it's a 1.5-year program. A passenger vehicle program is probably closer to 3+ years, sometimes over 5 years, depending on what type of program you're doing. So we have 2 programs there. One is our new global automotive OEM. We're still in that first stage of innovation. Then it goes to a pilot program. Then you go on road and test. It's a multi-year program. Again, think to that total achievable market that we shared at the beginning. These are things that we need to be doing right now. It ties into that cash burn because we need to be supporting the engineering teams to be able to work on these developments for that 25, 26, 27, 28 years. But they're not things that are going to see that immediate return for you. Where you look at the kind of emerging growth C vicinity, but also our NDAs 2 and our partnerships with motors, those are more that short term, that 24, 25. That Linamar project is a good example of us being pretty good at picking the type of projects that we work with. So Linamar has been with us for just under 3 years now. We're working through our demonstration vehicle. We had hoped to get it out by the end of the year, but like our latest shareholder update, we're looking at about the first quarter, still on target for everything that we had planned to do with Linamar, still on target to try to get our programs in place and be in production for late 24, early 25. And that's a good example of just working the course, but being ahead of the game for where we are for inverters and traction applications. And then that final section is where we start getting licensing. These are all happening in parallel now. So it's not like 2 years ago where we were starting to work it. We're working that core product that we could sell to any commercial trucking light duty application globally. We're working those motor partners that amplify our sales through partnerships and pull in of sales. We're working those longer term projects with our NDAs and Linamars that fill our 26 plus. And we're working our kind of licensing and co-developments with new patents that have been filed, that the core of that is our coil driver. So then I had customer specific project questions. And again, everything's grouped in. So this one was a good example, given our investment in C Electric, given that they've signed a 5 to 10 year agreement with Toyota. They also have an agreement with Mack Truck. If you follow Exro or see on LinkedIn, you can see some of those updates. Is Exro coil drivers being used in the C Electric drivetrain system? So truck up on the top there is the truck. That's not a graphic. That is the actual truck that's in Detroit right now. It's going through the integration with the C and Exro teams. It's getting onto the tracks this month. It will be tested through the end of the year. The plan there is to work with C Electric on the Hino and Mack projects. In order for C Electric to win those bids, they did over 500,000 miles of durability testing. So it's going to take us a little time to get into those projects. So we'll start on some of the smaller projects, but the overall question is, yes, that's the goal there. Then you have projects like Vicinity, which we've launched at the APTA show. We're in orders now for Vicinity for municipal applications. We're working together with the Vicinity team to talk to municipalities and really to get our tech in front of the municipalities and really talk about how we differentiate the market. So next big set of questions was around the steps to an NDA program, how an audit is done, how many more partners we're expecting. So the how many more partners, I'm not going to set milestones on today's call. Today is all about the AMA. What I will say is that we've said that we're going to continue to push on taking partners out of NDA before the end of the year. Today's press release was a representation of the first one. We have, we're optimistic that at least one of the other ones will come out of NDA before the end of the year, and we're hopeful that probably 2 of them will come out. We're also targeting to have more additional partners than the NDAs that you know today into the first quarter of next year. But again, we'll set our milestones early in January. What is an NDA program and how does it work? How does the audits work? Every single program is different. And we have a process that we use called integrated business planning that helps us to pick which projects we use, how we best use our capital, how we support. When you look at our 3 NDAs, I thought it might be helpful to kind of describe them overall. So our 3 NDAs are a low voltage project with our NDA 1. This is a major off-highway company that does over $12 billion a year in revenue. That's about a 3.5 to 4 year program. We've met our first gate. We've had our first audit. Our second one is a company that's a major tier 1 automotive supplying customers like Volvo. We have the motor on the dyno right now. We'll have that testing completed before the end of the year, probably kind of early, mid-December. And we're hopeful that we come out of NDA at that point, depending on how quickly we get through the negotiations. We'll come out of NDA on them. I'm very confident on that. And then on our third one, it's our global automotive OEM. So we're covering low voltage, high voltage, and our passenger vehicle. And again, that's how we're setting ourselves up for the future. Each partner has different parts of how they get audited. Each partner has different gates, and each partner has different teams that are working on it. Cell driver, I'm not going to run through all the details, but what I would say is we started with a distribution setup. We have over 12 distributors set up across North America. We'll move into different variations of our cell driver in 24, and then we'll start looking at path to profitability early 25 and our optimized system. And again, technology licensing partnerships. These are all being worked in parallel. Very similar to the coil driver, just a different end user, different end market. Our cell driver is connected to our building in Calgary, so we can start taking initial data. It is not connected to the grid yet, as we cannot connect to the grid without UL certification, but it is grid simulated right now, meaning that it has a grid simulator that gives you the same performance. Is it correct to assume that the process of installing a cell driver is simpler since they do not involve the same requirements as the automobile industry? I would say I'm not going to use the word simpler. It's different. So it's quicker to market for sure. We don't have these 5-year or 3-year or 1.5 year. But we do need to get through this next step. We do need to get through certification. It's one of the interesting kind of strategies of Exro versus other energy storage. A lot of other energy storage groups, companies, other people in the space, they go straight to pilot. So you'll see them piloting all over. But then they still have to go get UL, and that's at least a year, if not longer. And so we took a different approach, and we did that to best protect shareholders and make sure that when we went out to commercialize, the product was already certified. So it's been a little bit harder in the journey over 23, but as we go into 24, it means that our product doesn't need to go through any certification. So in that sense, it's a lot simpler. It's a finished product that represents our technology. Yes, of course, we got questions around, do we have a UL certification? What's the journey? We have a full program management team that manages this. We know that, again, the delays are frustrating. The only delay that has occurred due to a design issue was the one that I spoke about on our battery storage live stream, where we had some issues with the venting and we had to redesign the HVAC system. Other than that, all of the delays have been things that are essentially out of our control. We've had everything from power outage that put us back 4 days, to missing a slot, to changes at the UL lab, to waiting on reports. All normal in the course of business. And every time we've done it and every time we've put out our timeline, it's something we review at this point daily, but usually weekly. And we've always thought that's where we are. And we're telling you about the delays the minute that we see that. The minute that we've reached that kind of less than 60% chance that we're going to get to those timelines, we're letting you know. So once the UL is finalized, I understand that there's a need to be in-field validation. However, will we collect deposits? We'll collect deposits, we'll collect purchase orders, we will collect all of that. We haven't filled up that backlog, just to be clear and transparent, because we needed to get through that UL certification. Again, it goes to our strategy. But today's first pilot represents what we've been working on with all of our partners, and we do have a huge pipeline that can now be converted. And so you'll see additional pilots coming through. The pilots will be in a variety of segments, as we listed in our press release today. The reason for that is each sector has a different return on investment. So a restaurant, for example, we have a great case study in the press release, has a less than 4-year return on investment. That's really impactful and makes for a lot easier of a sale versus a 10-year payback. And so we'll look for sectors that are very specific, and then again, we'll amplify and scale out and go out and take orders, collect deposits, collect revenue, and have a successful 2024. I'm just going to kind of clarify now, just overall, there was 2 kind of key questions. The first was, is our Wolong project on order? Yes, it is. Sitting here today, all of the projects that we've updated since our shareholder update just earlier in October are on track. The Wolong project was received, the motors were received into Calgary on time. We thank Wolong for being a fantastic partner to us. Calgary did the check. We do a quality check when they arrive. It passed all of that. It's coming out here to Mesa, and our engineering squad here in Mesa will be doing that testing through the end of this year. And we're looking forward to continuing to develop our partnership with Wolong and get out and co-market our new Wolong Exro system. And then the next question was around globalization of our coil driver and our cell driver and where we can sell. It's important here to define the 2 different areas for globalization. On our coil driver, we have no borders. That same exact coil driver, the same exact 800-volt system that's in our Giafoni project is in other projects here in North America, including the Linamar drive. We can put that anywhere in the world and have very little, if any, regulation that we have to change on the drive. On the cell driver, it's different because you're going into the grid. So that UL certification applies only to North America. That doesn't mean that we can't sell into Brazil or sell into Asia or sell into Europe, but there would be additional certifications that are required at that point in time. We are having some of those conversations right now, but for sure for 2024, it'll be focused on North America for the cell driver. A look ahead. Somebody pulled up a quote. There was lots of quotes that I had said. Our big goal, this was set in 2022, January 22. Our big goal is to own more than 3% of the market within the next 5 years. 2 years later, has that changed? It absolutely hasn't changed when I think about 2027. This is what's in our facility in Calgary. This is literally on the wall. All our employees live and breathe this and work to this every single day, and it's what keeps us going. And you can see there, where we see each year and how we've themed the year and what we'd like to do within each year, and it matches to that 3% for 2027. When we think about what comes after that, what's our long term? There's a lot in the media right now and a lot of talk around rare earth metals and the ability to decrease the dependency on rare earth metals, the dependency on China. And so the questions around how do we participate with the increasing issues for rare earth? What I will tell you is, yes, we've done a lot of work on that. And coming from the motor side of it, spending my entire life on motors and induction motors, the simulations that we've done for induction motors are nothing short of incredible. And when we talk about reducing or eliminating, in this case, the dependency on rare earth metals, we can kind of think about where we'd like to see our next development projects as we enter into 2024 is on the ability to demonstrate that you cannot do this with the current drives in the market. What we can achieve with a coil driver and an induction motor, we have not seen replicated in the traction inverter market to date. These are simulations that's been done by Eric. These have been shared. They were part of how we won our recent innovation contract that you know about and how we'll continue to develop new projects. On top of that, on the cell driver side, once our UL certification is rebuilt, how long it's going to take them. Again, we've done it all in parallel. So while it's been a hard lift for us over the last year, it's because we were setting ourselves up for what comes now, what comes into 2027. So as we think about it, Rebuild has been working closely with us for the entire year, actually. They're actually training right now on how to build our demo units. That first pilot that we announced today will be built with Rebuild hand in hand with Exro, and they'll be ready to ramp on January 1st with us. So there's no wait there. We have actual batteries that have been ordered and we're ready to go. What's the difference between a cell driver and a Tesla Powerwall? Again, this was part of what we thought about from a strategic positioning when we first launched the cell driver. Tesla Powerwalls are focused on either end of that total market for energy storage, residential or utility scale. They actually don't really participate in the commercial industrial unit. And as we first came out, we didn't want to be competition to them. We wanted to help push Musk's journey and Musk's vision to have energy storage help the new electrified future. So our unit is a commercial industrial unit. So that's the first differentiating factor. The second one is, remember, the core, the heart of our energy storage unit is the battery cell level control, which even the Tesla Powerwalls don't have right now. What is AC fast charging? I keep saying it, but there was a lot of common themes in our questions. The AC fast charging, I'm not going to go into what is the AC fast charging in full description today because it's kind of a live stream on its own. So we'll do some videos on that you can download at your own leisure, and we'll load it up. But the best way to think about that is when you're doing AC fast charging, right now in the market, when you're charging your vehicle, the conversion of that voltage happens inside the vehicle. It's called an onboard charger, onboard the vehicle. So when you're plugging it in, the conversion's happening in your vehicle when it's, you're charging at home or you're charging at your local mall on a level 2. When we go to fast charging, level 3, DC fast charging, what's happening is that inversion happens inside the charger itself, no longer in the vehicle. So now the cost of the electronics sit in the charger itself. With Exro's AC fast charging, we onboard fast charge, meaning that all the electronics are in the vehicle. They're native to the coil driver, meaning that it's very little additional module in there, so very little expense. And now you can fast charge at the speed of DC charging. There's a lot to that and a lot of the external, the type of power that's coming in, the transformer. So we'll do some additional videos on what is AC fast charging, and we'll post some papers up that we have. On top of that, the question went in to ask about performance, why there's so many iterations. One of the problems with being agnostic to everything is that we can apply to so many different applications, so many different motors, so many different propulsion types. The results on a commercial truck, for example, are going to be different than on a passenger vehicle. The results in Brazil are going to be different than the results in the US. What we know for sure is that we see system reduction cost of an average of about 15 to 20% when it's fully optimized, and performance increases of over 40%. The last part of that question goes to, well, how do we have any tangible results on that ability to reduce the rare earth metals, the ability to reduce different pieces? So I'm going to share with you what we share in our commercial conversations with our customers. This is a simulation that we had done in collaboration with AVL. This is, again, a simulated result, but it was multiple months of work with AVL, where we provided our coil driver information, and they utilized this with one of the best electric vehicles in the market today, and said if they replace the traction inverter with our coil driver, what we would see. And you can see right there highlighted, you're going to get 19% less magnet material. That is driven because you're using a smaller motor. So very basic. When you use a smaller motor, you have less magnets. Then you have that choice between a boost of performance or a reduction of cost. You don't get both. So that means that if the electric commercial truck is already doing 200 miles, it's enough for that last mile vehicle. It does everything they want. They don't need better performance. What they need is a cost reduction so that they can get at par to the combustion engine. In that case, they're going to get the exact same performance, but they're going to do it with a 10 to 13% improvement in cost. Then we're going to flip and say, what about a garbage truck that wants to pick up more garbage? Well, then they're going to need more performance, which means they're going to need a bigger battery pack. Then in that case, they're going to go and they're going to get performance that they couldn't otherwise get. They're going to spend a little bit more, but they're okay with spending more. They want that increased performance. And those are the two scenarios that usually guide us in to one of our commercial developments. And this is what we talk about from a cost perspective. So what this shows you is that validated AVL simulation. That's been a big piece of how we're going to win our future deals and how we're winning deals today. So an independent third party that says what you can achieve is 10 to 13% reduction in cost on your motor. What you can achieve is your system efficiency. That means your battery is going to go farther on a single charge. You're going to charge up and you're going to get an extra pickup of garbage. You're going to get an extra passenger on your bus. You're going to go one stop farther on your family trip up north. You're going to remove that onboard charger. That's what's charging your vehicle. We talked about it. It's in the vehicle. It can range actually over the $2,000 range in commercial trucks. We've put it at $500 to $2,000. And if there is a gearbox, not every vehicle has a gearbox, you're going to be able to reduce or eliminate that gearbox. So if we took the example of a Volvo fleet of 4,300 trucks that was delivered in 2022, Volvo would save over $50 million a year. Now, I understand that the first thing you're going to think is then why aren't we doing that? But think about what we've just talked about. Think about partnerships like C Electric with Mack Truck. Think about partnerships like Linamar with axles. We have to have a lot of proof points, and we've been putting those proof points out every single month and listening to the voice of our customers and making sure that we are here for the long run. And then the last set of questions that I thought was really interesting and really ties into our current competition with the ePace Awards that we've been super proud of. 34 finalists, thousands and thousands of companies that apply, a really prestigious award, a really prestigious organization. We've talked to the judges. We're going through the process right now. When you look up ePace, you'll see that what that is about disruptive, game-changing technology. And shareholders that have been with me a long time know that I use those words very selectively because I don't like the promotional value that comes behind that. But we are absolutely disruptive. We are absolutely game-changing, and that's why we're a finalist in the PACE Awards. As we went through that process, what we realized as part of the question was that, there's a lot to the description of disruptive, and truly disrupting a space is really hard. And so I wanted to share with you things that have held us back along the way. Why today we're able to tell you that we are at a TRL of 7 or 8 with a TRL total readiness scale of 9. That was one of the questions by the beginning of next year. what took us there and why we call it de-risked isn't just to use a piece of descriptive adjective against our drive. It's because we've went through the hard stuff. Adoption time continues to challenge us. You know, part of the problem with automotive is that it's not a binding world. It's a world where you're going with forecasts and you're building in partnership with your partners. Having partners like Linamar and C and Vicinity is really, really important. And our NDAs and our motor partners like Wolong and TSA, because they're working with us. We meet them regularly. We're talking about who we target. But it's still a really tough piece. And it ties into why it's so tough for us to give guidance at this point in time. It's coming. We're not quite there, but it's coming. The harmonics, the noise that you make when you switch, that was a big problem for us. It also formulated one of my personal favorite patents of Exro. It's a new patent. We filed it. We announced that a couple months ago, coming again from the motor world. That one takes us outside of just e-mobility and takes us into the potential to control harmonics in any inverter on any application. It's a great, great, great part of our future. Thermals, how hot it gets. Think about your cell phone and when you're using it a lot and it gets hot and then it slows down, or just basics of power electronics. That was years of work, and it will continue to be work as we learn more about the industry. And it's, electrification is still a sector that's in its infancy. And while the slowdown is very prominent here in North America, there's places elsewhere in the world, hence why we have projects like Brazil, and we think into Europe, where Norway is one of the fastest adopters of electrification. There's other places where it's taking very quickly. And then the software. I've learned over the last few years, software is something that can change every single day. And by that, I just mean that different things out on the road show us different bugs that we need to fix out. We've done an enormous amount of work in our algorithms, on our firmware, and we really have that all in-house, and we'll continue to build that out, and we'll continue to build out who we are as a technology company at our core through our software solutions. And our recent patent pending on our software control is just the start of what you'll see us doing as we embrace our core of a technology company. And then our in-house testing. It's really expensive to build out dyno bays, and our CapEx has been greatly reduced. Part of our increase of people is because we moved to training our team to be able to test on 2 shifts, because every time we want to do something, our software or hardware, we're testing. There's lots of ways for us to improve that and to slow down and think about that and think about how we get more efficient in our own testing. But it's been one of our biggest challenges to date, is actually how we do our testing and how we become more efficient at that. With that, I know I talked a little bit fast today as I tried to rush through everything, so I apologize for anybody that found that too quick. Please do check back. What I'm going to do now is open up for some live questions. Daryl's off camera here, and he's going to read out some questions that I haven't heard yet. So, Daryl, bring it on.
All right, I'll try to speak loud so people can hear me in the microphone as well. A bunch of questions you've already answered, Sue, but a few that I think are impactful here. If hydrogen fuel cells become the future, would Exro's technology be useful?
That's a great question, and a question I love. And so absolutely, again, think about earlier on. So any kind of propulsion that uses electric is a great application for us. And as you think about hydrogen, it's actually one of our target developments for 2024, because we've done some initial work in the sector. We've talked to some, hydrogen customers is what I'll say. And what we've been able to do is gather some data around fuel cell applications. And we know that our coil driver can regulate the fuel cell better than a 3-phase drive. We also know, just like on the AC side, we can remove the onboard charger. On a hydrogen application, we can potentially remove what's called a DC to DC converter or rectifier, and that would be a big impact to the actual bill of material. So we're putting together our kind of case studies around that and getting ourselves ready so that we make sure that when we enter into that development program, number one, we can get it through as quickly as we can, and number two, we're best utilizing our capital on that project. But it's a fantastic area for us, actually.
Okay, next one is related to the technology itself. Do you have any competition right now that has the same technology?
Great questions. They're all great questions. So what I would say is that on competition, I know that it appears like because we've had delays, and especially through 2022, 2023, I think we've done a lot better, but I know, there was different expectations set either by us or for us. And so I think that in this case, I would say we are still ahead and we still have a big step forward. We're still first to market. There is no other company globally that is doing electronic gearing through the inverter. And we've done all kinds of analysis on our patents to ensure that is still the case today. And that is the importance of the Exro Coil Driver patent, a granted patent that we have proven our ability to defend. So I'd say we're still ahead of the game, and all of the competition is what I would call indirect competition, people trying to solve the same problem. There is a problem with performance in electric vehicles. There's a problem with price point in electric vehicles. Everybody's trying to solve that together.
Okay, a play on that question. If the technology is so great, why isn't everyone using it already?
It's a common question. It's one I hate to answer because I wish I could tell you that the conversion was easy, but it's really, really hard to get through all of the points. Part of it comes down to what we call the not invented here syndrome. So when you're working, and I come from one of those companies, I still bleed GE blue to a certain degree. And had you approached me when I was the CEO of our GE division and said, here's a new motor, I wouldn't have given you the time of day because it wasn't invented by one of my team, which had multiple PhDs on it. So some of it is just time as we take share. But what I can tell you is that in the last 6 months, I think that the new innovation project that we have with our major passenger vehicle automotive OEM, what it shows you is we weren't arrogant to the feedback that we were getting from the industry that said it was impossible that we could do what we were saying. And we had demo vehicle with our Humvee, and we had all kinds of simulation. We had test bench. We still got challenged to it's impossible. We're changing that now because we didn't just say, oh, we're going to do it anyway. We listened, we learned, we pivoted, we got the data that we've shared with you today. And so we're very optimistic about what 24 holds with us. We've put a lot into the partners that we have under NDA, and we're going to continue to develop them. But don't let the kind of slower pace look at the industry. We're not the only ones that are slowly transitioning, right? It's happening all around us. The difference is we are a true differentiator. So when the transition, and it's a when, it's not an if, that I can guarantee, when that transition occurs, what will set the winners apart from the losers is true differentiation, and that is Exro.
Okay, a few questions in the chat here around partners, and specifically with respect to what happened to the Zero partnership and Potentia.
Okay, so on the Zero partnership, well, they continue to be a great partner. As we came into the commercialization stage of it, we couldn't find from the economies of scale a place where it made sense. So we continue to look for partnerships with Zero that make sense for both companies to make profit and put time and resource into that. But the Zero development and the Zero team was instrumental to us, even with our current high voltage. Without that first drive, we wouldn't have the partnership with our passenger vehicle partner, and we wouldn't have the partnerships with C Electric and eventually Mac and others. And then with Potentia, it actually continues to be a great partner for us. They continue to evolve their product, and we're looking at a high voltage application with them. We've been happy with the results that we've seen, and we're optimistic that you'll see some future news with them before the end of the year. So that's been a great partnership for us.
And they have a new name.
And they have a new name. It is Megaflux. It is Megaflux. Same team, same people, same great kind of trajectory to market. They have some great commercial trucking partnerships. They've seen that evolution of the market as well. They started with a low voltage drive, and they're moving into high voltage now. So we've tried to kind of pivot with them and not put too much burn into what wouldn't be a long-term partnership.
Okay, flipping gears a little bit, what are Exro's plans, progress with the billions in government grants and funds available?
So I'm going to try to have a really good face on this one because I don't have a very good poker face, as many of the shareholders know. So it's been definitely a source of frustration for us as we sit kind of like a middle child in the world of startup. We're not really a junior startup where we can qualify, or it makes sense for us to have a couple $100,000 of funding where we've put a couple $100,000 effort into it. We're not a major CapEx intensive business, which we love, where we need hundreds of millions of dollars to get us to cash flow positive. So we kind of miss out on some of those loans, and that doesn't make sense. If you look at even the Department of Energy, which is a great initiative here in the US, there hasn't been a loan granted under $100 million. And then you need a $100 million match. So while there's great ability, one of my boards that I serve on outside of Exro is with the trade organization NEMA, which is the National Electrical Manufacturers Association. And we just spent a week together at the annual conference, and I was lobbying for the ability to have more access to funds. Right now, we are in application for a couple of grants against the energy storage unit and against the ability to use Second Life. We're working with partners that are non-disclosed, which are major partners, which is one of the ways that you kind of get a better chance of getting those grants. And we're actively looking to see how we can get some of that grant money in the early part of next year. So it's been lots and lots of work as we really tried to look and see where was the best area for us to do that. So fingers crossed we'll have some good announcements on that in 2024.
Okay, one question kind of around clarification of timelines on UL certification. With respect to our press release this morning, we said UL certification in Q4, product deliveries in Q1. Maybe just hit on that.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, just that we're on track for UL certification in Q4 and product deliveries in Q1.
Yeah, so as of Friday when I did my update with the team, we were on track for UL certification on Q4. What I would tell you is that there is an enormous amount of testing that we go through for UL certification. That's why we're going now in parallel to our pilots and our UL at the same time, because we're feeling confident in this last stretch of where we are. But we still have quite a lot of testing to get through. That said, I think the hardest part is behind us. We're on track. We had a really successful week last week of testing. We went as far as to get some internal approvals, so we actually do a lot of the testing ourselves, and UL and Intertech witness test it virtually. So we've done all kinds of things to keep us on track. Team is feeling good. We're feeling good. We'll continue to go out and close on pilots through the end of this year, and hopefully share some more announcements with you before we go out for the new year.
Okay, one other cell driver related question. Is the cell driver only for Second Life batteries, and is there Second Life batteries in our initial product?
Great question, and I thought I had answered that, but now that you're saying that, I realized I missed that on one of the slides, so I apologize for that. So it is not only a Second Life. I think the way to think about that one is the technology at its core, the benefit is really around that Second Life, because we have an ability to mix chemistries, to mix grade of life of battery, and just, from a future potential facing, there's just so much opportunity at the technology level for battery cell level control. That said, we can build our energy storage units with a first life battery, and we can go to market, which we are, with the first life battery. Also at the core level, the ability to control a cell in a first life battery is also very important, because when manufacturers are building the cells, there's a lot of production that doesn't make it into the automotive, or there's a lot of what we call gray or grade B. Those are areas where a better level of cell control could help that as well.
Okay, final question, because we just are over an hour.
Okay.
And a lot of our shareholders look to this resource, and we get a lot of questions on this one as well. Do you plan on doing a Monroe Live?
So thank you to everybody who encouraged us to do a Monroe Live. We have decided that we are going to do a Monroe Live. They're a great organization, and I've always been excited to do it, but I've been talking with Sandy and the team for the last little while, and we will be on the Monroe podcast next week, November the 28th. Eric and I will join the Monroe team. We're looking forward to it, and we greatly thank the Monroe team for your support of Exro so far, for following and for inviting us to be part of your podcast. With that, that was our last question. I'm going to sign off today by thanking every single shareholder, big and small, for riding and taking this journey with us, for supporting us. Without your support, we wouldn't be here today. I'm going to thank every single one of our employees. And while I recognize that, there's questions around our level of support of the company, what we have and what we own in the company is material for who we are. None of us were initial founders of Exro. And I think that if you came and you walk the halls like I do, and you talk to our employees and you see how driven we are to get to production and get to being a great company, you'd know that the vision is alive in each and every one of our employees. Don't let the delays dictate our successes. We have come a long way since 2022. We've come a long way since 2019, end of the year when I joined the company and we went down to paper. And the fact that we went from paper to on the road to major NDAs in less than 4 years is nothing short of an amazing team of people and an amazing team of shareholders that have helped us to get there. So thank you to each and every one of us. Please continue to put in the questions and we'll continue to answer them and host these AMAs quarterly. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful week. To people in the US, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.